Cherries. Quite good ones, too. And so easy to pick. Look at the height of this bush. Just 4 feet. No ladders needed to pick in this orchard. This is Julian Biggs speaking from the Dominion Experimental Farm at Morden, Manitoba. And the man I'd like to tell you about these particular cherries is standing right across from me here. His name is Dr. Russell Leslie, the superintendent of the farm. Dr. Leslie, just what's the story behind these little bush cherries?
We got our first seed, I think it was 1940, from the Soviet Union as seed.
It's a Mongolian variety.
Yes, yes. The Russians sent, I think it was 6 botanists, trying to hunt for a very hardy cherry, and they finally found it in Mongolia. It's wonderfully hardy and dependably productive every year here.
It's extremely hardy under all prairie conditions?
As far as I know, but we would not expect it to do well on alkali or heavy saline soils.
And could they grow, you think, anywhere in Canada?
I don't see why it shouldn't. Providing the soil will grow good garden crops, I'd bank on this coming through fine.
How are they for cooking, Doctor?
Some of them are very good, and some of them, as the Indian would say, probably has a tommyhawk under its hide. It's pretty harsh. But there's so much diversity and so much variety in them that we feel shortly there'll be at least a dozen very good quality sour cherries out of them. And we'll still retain this Shetland pony bush, 3 to 4 feet.
Wonderful. They cross very readily with our domestic varieties, do they?
Quite. But if you're trying to cross them with our pin cherry, you have to use these as the mother. The pin cherry doesn't seem to take the pollen of any of the other sour cherries.
And how about their other uses, Doctor?
Outstanding is the jelly. Finest jelly that ever comes into our house is certainly this Mongolian cherry jelly. The Manchu jelly is good. The Manchu cherry from China, very good, but not nearly so dependable and hasn't so much bouquet and aroma as this has as jelly.
You say dependable. These don't fail to bear any year.
We've never had a blank. Sand cherries, choke cherries, pin cherries, they may fail. Saskatoons may fail from frost. But these bloom rather late in the season, and we've never had a failure.
How old is this long hedge that you have along here of them?
This is 4 years old. We put out 1-year-old plants, and that is the common way of growing them. It'll be cheap if they plant seedlings and distribute them, I would say, not by the hundreds, but by the hundreds of thousands. Every person that has even a little home garden on the prairies, let them have at the back of their lot a little row of these.
Where could they get them?
We are glad to supply seed in sample quantities. A number of the nurseries are getting into production.
I see.
And there'll soon be plenty of them.
Well, soon everyone can have one in their backyard if they wish it, eh?
Yes, they should have 2 to make sure of getting cross-pollination, hence fruitfulness.
I see. Well, thank you very much indeed, Dr. Leslie. And I'll come back when this cherry season is ripe, I think.
Right.
This is Julian Biggs speaking from the Dominion Experimental Station in Morden, Manitoba.